Staff responsible is the mode offered to a driver when 1. The signaller or the system can't offer movement authority and you need to pass an end of authority. 2. At the start of mission, when a train's position is invalid or unknown to the system. The most common instance of staff responsible mode occurring is when the start of mission procedure has been followed incorrectly in an ETCS Level 2 area. We have produced a full video to show you the correct start of mission process in ETCS and to avoid any issues. It's available on the SharePoint. But here's what can happen if you do it in the wrong order. The driver is at Moorgate. They're setting up the DMI at the start of mission. They enter the train ID before enabling and getting the train to run in Level 2, which results in them being offered SR mode by the system. You can see the SR acknowledgement icon on the DMI here. They need to call the signaller.
Been offered staff responsible. Hello, Finchley Park Workstation Signaller. This is the driver of 2 Foxtrot 24 at a stand at Platform 9, Moorgate, Yankee Alpha 3101.
Remember, do not acknowledge SR mode before you have contacted the signaller. You must always contact the signaller for instructions before entering SR mode.
Hello there, driver 2 Foxtrot 24, Yankee Alpha 3101, Platform 9 at Moorgate. How can I help you, driver?
Signaller, my train, I've tried setting it up in Level 2. I've got a connection to the radio block centre, but I'm being offered staff responsible mode.
Okay, driver, so you've got a connection to the radio block centre and you've been offered staff responsible mode in the cab.
That's correct, Signaller.
Okay, driver, looks like we're not going to get a movement authority for you. Do you have a copy of the NR4000 form in your cab?
I do have my NR4000 form in front of me.
Okay, driver. First of all, if we can start with Part A.
Part A.
It's the Finsbury Park workstation. Now move to Part D and I will give you an authorization number of Foxtrot Papa 101.
Foxtrot Papa 101.
And that's at a time of 11:14 hours.
Of course, it's not just about paperwork. The signaller will need to check that the train's going to be safe to depart.
Before allowing 2 Foxtrot 24 to depart from Moorgate in staff responsible mode, it's important that signallers check that the route is correctly set and have used their route cards, have it checked by a colleague because there are going to be many scenarios where when we come to use staff responsible mode, we may not have the safety of the interlocking in all scenarios. It's also extremely important to ensure that the section is clear of trains all the way up to and including the overlap of the next block marker so that we can prevent any risk of having 2 trains in any one section.
Lovely, thanks very much, Signaller. I'll obey written order number 7.
Okay, driver, I'm now going to authorise staff responsible mode from my workstation.
The signaller will then authorise the SR mode.
The signaller can authorise a train to transition into staff responsible mode by selecting the head code from the general information display, clicking authorise. You'll then have to confirm it. Once authorised, you will see the mode icon change to SR for staff responsible. You then know that the request has been accepted by the system.
So the driver has permission to proceed in SR mode and the SR acknowledgement icon has appeared. But it's important to select override.
Before completing the NR4000 form and issuing an authorisation number, it's important to remind the drivers about stopping SR balises. These are located alongside block markers and are designed to stop a train operating in SR mode from proceeding beyond the limits that it's been authorised. We can do that by filling in box Golf Bravo 103 on the NR4000 form. By checking that box, we remind the driver to operate the cab override to make sure that the train doesn't come to a stand in the middle of a section.
So having got the order to proceed in SR mode, the driver accepts SR mode on the DMI, then presses override of the EOA. The driver then taps the speedometer to display the speed block. Remember, this is not an indication of line speed, only a ceiling speed for SR mode, which for the Northern City Line is set at 20 miles an hour. Selecting override gives the train 60 meters or 4 minutes 15 seconds of brake suppression to allow the train to pass over a Belize which may contain a stop if in SR command. If you don't use the override EOA function, you'll have a train trip when the train passes over one of those Belize's. Stop if in SR Belize's are found at locations where an overrun in SR may cause a collision. Generally, this is at signals and block markers. It's like a TPWS train stop sensor at a signal. At Moorgate, they're located at the country end of the platform, so if you don't press override, your train would stop half in and half out of the station. In some circumstances, the driver won't be offered SR mode by the system, and they will need to be authorized to select SR themselves. Instead of seeing the SR mode acknowledgement icon, they may see an icon showing no RBC connection. If you see this symbol showing the RBC connection has been lost, you need to contact the signaller immediately. The signaller will then guide the driver through the correct process to complete written order number 1, to receive authorization to override the EOA.
Signaller, I've got a broken RBC connection on my DMI and I can't get it into a mode here at Moorgate.
Okay, just a moment. Yes, I can confirm that I'm showing no level or mode information for you on my workstation. Because you do not have any level or mode information and you have no connection to the RBC, I'm going to be unable to offer you a staff responsible mode from my workstation. I'm going to need you to fill out a NR4000 form.
I've got my NR4000 form ready to be completed, yes.
If a driver rings up from Moorgate and says that they have lost their RBC connection, signallers should check the GID to see whether they have level and mode information available. If you do not have level and mode information, we will not be able to issue a full supervision or an on-site movement authority, and we will not be able to authorise a staff responsible movement authority from the GID because the train has lost its connection to the RBC. The driver will then have to place the train into staff responsible mode using the cab equipment.
Once the driver is authorised to override EOA, the driver selects override on the main menu, then override EO, checks that the SR mode and override EOA icons are displayed, and then complies with written order instructions. This will only allow the driver to travel as far as the next block marker or signal, whichever comes first. During the movement, when the RBC receives a valid position report, it will issue an MA. The train will then transition to on-site mode or full supervision mode. If the RBC cannot issue an MA in the subsequent section, the train will remain in SR mode and must be brought to a stand by the driver at the limit of the written order. Remember, you must always contact the signaller for instructions before entering SR mode. Do not start the override EOA process until you receive the authorization number from the signaller.